What's up, guys? Ooh, yay.
Oh, are we
How
live
are you
streaming
guys?
on YouTube, man? Did we mean
Yeah.
to do that?
I don't know. Caitlin,
Let's roll with it.
we are still getting used to this crazy tool that keeps adding stuff, and we're not quite sure how to use it just yet, but it's getting better every time. But apparently we're now live streaming to YouTube. So.
There's been a while that I wanted a T-shirt that said "consummate fucking professional." It's like I deserve that.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? So, Caitlin Duffy-Ryon, hello and welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm
psyched.
Yeah, excited to get a chance to hang and chat with you guys. And
yes, and thank you so much for sharing the time with us. So, we're gonna see you're the first one I think we've ever had where when I ask you how we got here, it's gonna have not one thing to do with what we're talking about today. So, but I still want to ask because we want to kind of find out what got you here. You know, just give us a little sort of like, you know, summarize every day prior to this one, and then we can take it from there. But spoiler alert, I at least from what I know, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But maybe it does.
Hey, who knows how it could relate?
Yeah, who knows? You're right.
But the initial prompt was a ghost hunting conversation
Love it.
I had months and months back when we first were introduced and met through this networking group that we're both a part of.
Right.
And we were discussing clients. I own a marketing consultancy, and some of our clientele at the time involved, we'll say, investigations into the paranormal, including Ghost Hunter for the Travel Channel. And there was a tourism company based around the unexplained and mysterious. And I also happen to have my own random curiosities around quantum physics and the overlap of the reality that we exist in and the paranormal that so many people report experiencing. So, anywho, we had many conversations since then and have continued to like slightly touch on it, but
Sure.
You know, ultimately, I think we were going to talk about the theories of the afterlife, ghosts, the soul, how that really.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, I mean,
quantum
and you know what?
And it affects the electromagnetic waves in the world around you, aka the things that affect your physical health. Anywho, to bring it all back.
Was our last show the scalar energy one?
It was. Are we just getting fucking weirder?
Yeah.
I'm glad I finished that book on neurotheology.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like that was an appetizer.
Yeah. So we have got a very interesting and diverse set of things we can talk to you about. And I love that you are, I don't know, is it just us creative marketing people that get weird on our spare time? Because I feel like almost everyone I know who owns an agency or whatever, it gets weird on a regular basis, having nothing to do with work whatsoever. And I'm just curious, like, do you notice that as well?
Notice about a 50-50 split. Either they completely agree and they're right there with you and they have their own wild theories and adventures that they go on related to their side quests, or they look at you like you're absolutely insane. How do you have time for anything other than your business? It's usually one or the other.
Right. Yeah. Because like I can't go to like my accountant friends and be like, hey, this quantum particle, it kind of explains God. You want to talk about that for a minute? Like people are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
My accountant is also a hypnotist, so I feel like I could possibly approach him with some weird shit.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like.
And sometimes I guess that's true. But like for the most part, I mean, if I want to get really weird, I got to call my musician friends or my artsy friends. I can't call my normal friends,
We are forced to spend the majority of our day in that thinking space of out of the box creativity. And so
I'm so sad for you, Paul.
I think,
So go back, I guess. Let me ask you a question. Did your ghost hunting, let's start there because it's an easy onboard, right? Did your ghost hunting interest start before the Travel Channel project or after?
Well, really, it started with a story that I was told when I was a kid about the apartment that I lived in with my parents when I was, baby, where apparently we had an encounter with a spirit that woke my parents up out of dead sleep. They saw a young woman leaning over my crib, looking down at me. My dad, 26 and fresh out of the Marine Corps, but also half asleep, goes immediately into defense mode and chases this woman to the front door of the apartment, where she exits, and he starts unbolting the door to go after her. And he gets through and opens it before he realizes what he just had to do. And then just kind of closed it and went back to bed. And I will say too that he still doesn't like talking about that and is not a fan of discussing.
Yeah. So then, in a weird twist of fate, you get to work on this show, which, a limited number of people got to. And then you get all this experience and exposure to, what'd you tell me? It was a bunch of plumbers that became ghost hunters or something, electricians or something. So, they weren't.
I feel like
scientists.
That show was so impactful. I feel like that how many spin-off shows came from that? How many people started little ghost hunting groups I immediately saw a bunch pop up in Baltimore,
I will say that I did not get to work on that show specifically.
Yeah.
The one that you're referencing, but during the pandemic did a very, very deep dive into the entirety of the ghost hunting universe through the Travel Channel and Discovery, if you will, and got to know all the different crews and their stories.
Oh, wow.
Because we all needed hobbies during lockdown, right?
Yeah.
And so that was actually what led to me reaching out to one of these individuals and working with them. But he had been working in the paranormal radio space since the early 90s. So it was a natural transition for him to...
Was this coast to coast?
What's paranormal radio? As in a show or as in... A
show that aired overnight usually, was coast to coast for a good while and involved a lot of call-ins and explorations and deep dives and conversations.
I believe I've listened to that show.
Yeah.
I believe I have.
Tom's like, yes, I
don't remember the dude's name, but did he have a mustache? I feel maybe I'm saying something wrong here. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Yeah, we try to maintain privacy.
Privacy. I got you.
Yeah.
But
so
apologies for the dogs, by the way. They kind of we lost.
Look, no, it's fine.
We're all drinking. It's okay.
It would be better if you had one of them as a spirit dog. That would probably have been cooler for this dog, but I know that's a little hard to plan for, so I'll forgive you.
Like a little what, Nightmare Before Christmas or something?
Yeah, a little spirit animal. Yeah.
I should have kept.
All right, so I got to cut right to it, man. Talk to me about what is a ghost hunting. What did they you and I had a real brief kind of chat on this, and I didn't get a chance to grill you too much on it, but I'm super curious. Can we boil these down to shit we could explain? Is it mostly unexplainable? I feel like I got to kind of start to peel.
Yeah, I mean, even percentage wise, what's the part? How much of a percent is the oh shit, I just have no idea what that was.
Yeah.
So, I will say, I'm going to disclaim this by saying I myself have only ever been on one actual confirmed ghost hunt.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Myself have had experiences, if you will, that may or may not be explicable. And I am not a ghost hunter, but my deep dive and many, many, many hours spent watching back-to-back episodes of these ghost hunters going through these experiences led me to an insatiable curiosity to find out how real is this for them.
Mm-hmm. For them, that's an interesting.
Well, how real is it for them is different than how real it is, right? Those are not the same thing. Now, are they?
Well, I mean, and that's the entire point of this is.
Well, yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Right.
But is it real to them, or is this a character? You know, are you
Okay,
Oh, I
all
see
right.
what you're
That
saying.
is
Oh,
a
yeah.
very valid
Okay.
question too, right? Is this a staged program like so much of reality TV?
I have my own back end experience with a couple other reality TV shows and other elements of the production and performance industry, and so that's where I got curious. I was like,
Yeah.
is how much of this is performance and how much of this is belief?
Well,
And how much would you find
I
out?
think that question actually predicates the question that Matt asks, right? You need to know how much of it is actually BS by scenario first before you can even say how much might be, somebody's belief.
Right.
Right.
And so, the thing that I find interesting is it depends on the show that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But in most cases, knowing what I know about how Discovery tends to fund their TV shows and how most first seasons are self-funded by the crews that produce them, this is a pretty legitimate belief that they are actually having these encounters. And that in and of itself can lead to the question and how it relates to quantum field theory of is the belief in the thing enough to make it real? And we actually living in a simulated reality in which we have the capability to create what some cultures would refer to as a tulpa. This entity that is simply the formation of
mind form. Yeah.
So in that sense, does that then make it real?
Wow, that is an interesting way to break that down, because the way it's presented is really, the energy of this place or something so tragic has happened here that something is stuck. But yeah, it could totally be the other way, where you're actually programming. I think if we're talking about being in a matrix, you're actually programming the experience to happen based on your belief set. And, it's very interesting because, when we talk about psychology and people have experiences in their head, right? And it's real in their head. Right. But like, what if it's so real that it is, in their head that they can actually manifest that?
Well, I mean,
and it's
like,
we
have
a woman coming.
Thought you have. Oh my God.
We booked a woman today, Caitlin, who got her PhD in the emergence of self through psychedelics and how do you identify self. But one of the things that came out of that, which I cannot wait to talk to her about, is exactly this, which is saying like how much of this is just malformed neurotransmission and how much of it is, which manifests physically. She's like, she was talking about OCD, like you've got this signal in your brain that manifests physically where you actually have to do it because you feel threatened and this is the way around it. And so I guess if you, what she's saying is kind of like what you're saying as well, is like, if you're sort of manifesting this, you are the architect of that, not necessarily. But here's the thing. If I have an EMF meter though, and I'm out hunting ghosts, whether I believe it and you don't, the meter does what it does. And that's agnostic of who believes what. No?
I would argue not necessarily here, because let's say we have a legend that this place is haunted. You have thousands of people that say they had you're already pre-programming, you're preloading that walking in. So even a non-believer has heard those legends, right? Okay, I'm going to go there to disprove it. But, given the set and setting, much like a psychedelic, that is actually prompting that to happen, because even if you say, I don't believe, there's some part of your brain that might actually go, no, I believe this, right? Belief in humanity. I mean, it's not even rational, right? You see people that are like, no, this guy was caught doing this. And I'm not saying anything specific there. No. They're innocent. They're innocent. And I believe they're innocent. Or I don't believe in that. Well, here's factual data I can show you. No, that doesn't exist. So we do it all the time.
But
I guess back to my original question, Caitlin, even if I believe it, even if I manifest it, even if I've got my whole tribe that all believes it, at the end of the day, a spike on an EMF is what? Like, do we know? Like, do we have any idea what is giving these people like validation that something's happening? I mean, I don't want to be reductive about it, but
again, I'm no scientist, and I don't have training in mechanical engineering or any sort of electrical wiring or anything along those lines. But to my understanding, EMF readings are simply detecting the strength of a given electromagnetic field that is being created by some source. It's extremely common for high EMF readings to happen in older homes with poorly insulated wiring, with Wi-Fi units nearby, with cell phones nearby, basically anything that emits an electromagnetic signal. Which includes the human body, will be read by an EMF meter. So the idea in using those is in ghost hunting is that you're detecting something creating an electromagnetic field in a space where there is no other explanatory trigger. However, the big problem with most ghost hunters is they're using them and they're waving them around. And the only proper way to use it is you let it stay stationary in one location for at least that amount of time and then see if there's any residual readings that come up or not. And
I have one of those handheld cornet units, like the little tiny guys. And
well, I'm using it to make sure I'm not bathing my own brain right now. Is kind of the reason I use it.
Right. And it was one of those things. My brother was like, "Why do you spend so much time on this stupid shit?" I'm like, you know what? Because for $100 or whatever I spent on that meter, the only thing that I got very useful out of that entire thing, and I spent hours obsessing over this, was that when you turn the Wi-Fi on your laptop off, it makes sitting in front of your laptop infinitely less deadly. Like that Wi-Fi antenna is facing your head on the front of a MacBook Pro. Like, so taking Wi-Fi off, it cuts that reading by like a 1/32 of like what it used to be. Like, so I was like, all right, well, I got that information out of this. This was a fun trick for that.
It also brings the productivity of the MacBook down by about, to about.
Well, you hardwire it.
But
no, hardwire. Yeah. No, I'm saying you hardwire. You do an Ethernet connection, which actually makes it not only faster, but also way less toxic. So,
did and proven them.
Oh God. Yeah. No, definitely. We haven't had enough wine yet to be calling each other millennials or anything.
I'm going to have to start making some jokes here and make people cry. I feel like I got to lean into that now. I just got to be a dick.
You know what?
Yeah. So it's fascinating with these people because like, and maybe I think this might've been how we got onto the God conversation, but this kind of falls for me under the camp of like, at one point we called an eclipse a wrathful deity, right? Like that was them being pissed off, and I had to.
It ate the sun.
I have to go grab my nearest virgin and slit her throat on a rock. Yeah, and like now we don't have to do that. Turns out eclipses aren't really affected by however many people's throats you slit. Just doesn't make any difference, right?
You just haven't slit enough.
I just haven't slit enough, I guess. Yeah, but like I mean. You spent way more time on this than I have, obviously. And I'm just wondering, like, when you look back on it, I mean, are these people sort of in that I can't explain it, so we'll call it ghosts? And one day, if I find out it was the Wi-Fi router, I can stop calling it a ghost. I could just call it the Wi-Fi router.
So, I mean, again, it depends on which investigative team you're following and what the approach is. I will say, there are some shows and some teams that start off with, let's make sure it's not faulty wiring in the house. And, they start off by doing an evaluation of the structural integrity of the site.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there are other shows that come in and, immediately start screaming that they're being pushed and yelling that they can feel an aggressive spirit taking over. And at that point,
Do those people wear tap out t-shirts? Because I think I know that show too.
Tom, I didn't know you were such an
Look,
avid
man,
ghost hunter.
I watch all the shows, and part of it is like, yeah, I can believe that, and part of it is like, oh god, these fucking guys, like Ancient Aliens. They're like any technology that has like it requires any brain power. They're like, it had to be aliens. We're the smartest people in the world.
Oh my god. Yeah.
It was developed in a brown nation. We'll say that much.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, definitely that. Yeah. Those Egyptians, they're kind of brown. They couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Like, dude, they were literally sitting around. They wrote medical texts. I mean, like really good medical texts.
But even that, like not the medical text, but like they just found remnants of a river that went to the literal front doorstep of the pyramids. So now what used to be our whole childhood, and we're a little ahead of you millennials there, Caitlin, but when I was in school, they were like, it's a fucking mystery. No one has any idea. This shit is crazy. It must have been aliens. I'm like, and now we can definitively say, no, it's probably that giant river
we literally floated the rocks right there.
We floated the rocks right to the front doorstep. You know
what? Having been to those pyramids in like 2007, 2008, sadly, right now there's a KFC Pizza Hut right outside the doorstep of the Great Pyramid.
I mean, come on. If I was there, I'd have to take a selfie in front of the KFC.
There was the TGI Fridays where the back deck was over the Nile. And that was the first thing we did was we got on the Nile after we got off the airplane, and I was like very sad. I was like, this is Egypt.
I've flown halfway around the world to have mozzarella sticks.
Do they got the honey habanero flavor wings?
Oh my god, yeah. Oh, that's funny.
It's more depressing. The TGI Fridays overlooking the Nile, or the TGI Fridays at the basement of Penn Station.
Oh yeah, they're both.
I don't think that's there anymore. They renovated that whole Penn Station. I don't know, unless you're in Manhattan.
Not that part. Not the Jersey.
Not that part. Not the Jersey side. Yeah, fuck
not
the Jersey side.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They redid all of Amtrak. They did all like I was asking my cousins the other day. Is Rose's still there? Is Rose's Pizza still there?
Yeah, no.
Everything except for the NJ Transit section.
That's so funny. That's fucking hilarious.
That was a sad TGI Fridays.
Oh my god,
it is, and I've none. Yeah. Anyways, don't spend Christmas Day there. Just do that.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna. That'll be easy enough to avoid.
I or maybe not. Hear that story, but it sounds really sad.
Yeah.
No, it was just waiting for train transfers that were delayed, going from breakfast in Connecticut to dinner in New Jersey, and
oh wow,
stopping for lunch a little too long. And I'll just tell you, the TGI Fridays in the basement of Penn Station on Christmas Day is quite the place.
But,
yeah, I'm sure the people watching there is epic.
Yeah, and God bless the staff, man. God bless the staff working that day. That's all I could think about. I was like,
I like in my head, how many of them went home and unalived themselves? Were they like, this is so horrible? Oh my god, I'm sorry. We're talking about ghosts though, so we have to generate.
Well, I mean, I was gonna. I was going to make a joke about like, I wonder if I had my EMF.
You didn't tell me your friend was an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm from New Jersey.
I know.
Yeah.
I get it.
I apologize for my accent. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from Long Island. I called a friend once and I was
like, two of you.
Did I fucking sound like that when I lived there? Like, that's horrible. Why do you talk like that? Do better.
Yeah. Oh my god. I'm in a networking group that's on Long Island, and every time I'm like fighting back laughing because they're just the accents. Some of those accents are just so strong. It's like so strong.
I normally go, you're from the South Shore, right? And they get real fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
they get so pissed off. Are you from the South Shore? No, I'm Mid-Island. Yeah.
Yeah.
From the North Shore. I get it. You didn't have the same opportunities I did.
Yeah, but nobody's from the North Shore. The North Shore is all the fucking Hamptons transplants.
No. That is like I grew up in the town Nelson DeMille writes books about, man. Like,
what town?
Old Brookville.
Oh, Old Brookville.
Oh, Brookville. Yeah,
That sounds like a ghost town, doesn't it?
No, but they're very classy ghosts. They're very like Great Gatsby type ghosts.
I mean, this is out to Amityville.
Amityville. So oddly enough, in high school, me and my jackass friends got into a car and we drove around Amityville for like 3 hours looking for a house that like one guy kind of heard where it was.
Oh,
yeah, and then let me tell you,
on high authority.
Yeah, because we didn't have Google.
Sure.
Also, let me tell you, people in Amityville do not want you looking for that fucking. They're like, could you just leave us the fuck alone?
Can you just leave us alone?
There's literally 400 high
That's
school
funny.
kids looking for the same fucking house. And like, it's got probably got like a family of 4 living in there. They're like 2 kids that got to go to bed at 8, and like we're pissing them off.
Yeah,
trying to look in the windows and shit.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Moment I had. Were you ever a reader of Weird New Jersey, or have you heard of the Weird New Jersey?
Oh yeah.
It launched the Weird USA series, and then they
okay, all right,
show. But it started off as a local publication. The 2 Marks. Shout out to my very first editors back when I was 13 years old, and they accepted an article I submitted for publication.
Awesome.
My very first published article.
You got published. Start that CV up at 13.
I started early. I don't know what it was. What Kool-Aid I drank in elementary school, but I was ready to start working like way too early. Side notes. But Weird New Jersey is a documentation of all of the unexplained, paranormal, strange places across the state. And what better to do on a summer night when you're 19 years old and the Starbucks is closed and kicking you out of the parking lot, but hop in the car and flip through an issue, find a place and say, let's go. So,
I think you're that much younger than me that I don't think when I was 19, Starbucks was on the East Coast yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not.
But I was
using print magazines to guide our nights.
I gotcha. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I was very excited when Star 69 happened. Yeah. I had a corded phone. I had a rotary phone when I was growing up.
I mean, I had a rotary phone too, and we told that story to my kids. And now every time there's like a movie or a show and somebody picks up a rotary phone, my kids are like, look how fucking old that shit is. I can't believe you guys had to talk. And I'm like, and there's always that like 29-foot phone cord.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like
you could go to the next house over. You're like, all right, I'm good.
But it never went back right. It never went back right. It was always knotted up.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Never once.
But it's funny. Like my kids don't know what that is. They know of it. They can identify it in a lineup, but they will never experience like what it is to see your parents on the phone with like whoever. And they're like, oh, let me go grab my kids. And they literally walk like out of the kitchen, down the hall to the front door with a fucking phone on their ear. They're like,
yelling out the front door, calling for you. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's funny.
Oh,
it just, anyway, I digress. But yeah, Weird New Jersey. I finished high school in North Jersey when that was kind of getting going. And I remember, what's the Tasmanian, not the Tasmanian Devil.
No, Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil.
Jersey
yeah.
Devil.
Like, and
they
I was
named
like,
a hockey team after him.
Yeah, they named after the hockey team, but I was like, I didn't know that. I came from California, man. Like I just, you take.
So what did you got? You got Sasquatch over there? What do you got?
Yeah, well, I mean, Sasquatch, is a mountain thing. Yeah, but
California.
We have Tahoe Tessie.
Tahoe Tessie.
Yeah, we had the Loch Ness monster of Lake Tahoe. Yeah, it's a whole big thing. It's a giant aquatic, ancient dinosaur thing that's been living in Tahoe forever. Same shit. There's like, one photo that looks like it could be something reasonable. And it's
we
turned
found this
into like
blurry
a whole
photo
thing.
of a log floating in a river.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just looking it up. Yeah. It is exactly that. I'm looking it up now. There's like a picture of like Lake Tahoe, and in the top right corner, there's like a smudge and there's somebody's like circled it in red Photoshop. Like they're like, this is definitive proof. I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought it would be. Oh yeah.
Did
exactly.
you see the story recently about a gal who thought she took a picture of Bigfoot at a restaurant and then it was debunked, and she was so upset that it was debunked and not an authentic Bigfoot sighting that she threatened to sue the restaurant if they didn't give her a refund for the entire meal and experience?
What?
I might be misremembering that.
Did the restaurant just debunk it?
Remembering that, but it was debunked pretty quickly. That was
no, that's just Carl, man. That's just Carl.
He's really weird.
No,
he had a war injury.
He's tall. He's grown his facial hair for years, but that's Carl.
Yeah, that's really funny. Where?
I'm too goofy
the
today. I'm sorry,
ball
guys.
on that is like crazy. How the fuck do you sue a restaurant for debunking your idiotic rant?
And it probably wasn't even them. It was probably like, no, this is clearly this. And now she's mad at the restaurant.
I have to look this up really quickly to fact check myself. My journalism experience is telling me I've got to make sure I'm speaking correct.
There's probably a smudge on the window.
Yeah. I actually, funny enough, there's a shockingly little amount of photographic evidence supporting Tahoe Tessie, and
shockingly little,
a great deal of artist renditions of what Tahoe Tessie obviously must look like.
I would not search Rule 34 in Tahoe Tessie because you will see some erotica.
It is just randomly. It is random interpretive shit, and this is hilarious.
Oh God!
So let me ask you, Caitlin.
I'm sorry, guys.
No,
we didn't even smoke tonight. That's the crazy thing.
I mean, you would like to.
Look, if it shuts me up and gets the conversation going.
I am a Crohn's disease patient since 2013. Was when
okay, all right.
Diagnosed. And I will say that I am in the 10% of patients who make it 10 plus years without needing surgery.
Oh, wow.
Those are CB2 receptors that help with that. Yeah.
And I regularly. So
you attribute this to cannabis or what's your secret?
Combination of cannabis, dietary regulation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right.
So I follow a modified version of the specific carbohydrate diet, which largely involves avoiding anything with extra processing or, anything that's canned or.
You mean kind of like we should be eating all of us?
Do you mean how like an adult should eat?
Dietary advice, not like fresh food, locally? Yeah.
In the U.S., it's easier to say I'm gluten-free. Then like a couple extra foods on top of that. But the actual, it's the specific carbohydrate diet. So literally only eating simple carbohydrates that are easier for your body to break down. Plus cannabis to mitigate the day-to-day symptoms, and then one daily oral medication that I've been taking on and off for the last decade. And that's that.
Do you prefer like an RSO? Do you take edibles? Is that the route, or
weirdly?
Or I know you said nothing's off the table, but I don't.
No, yeah. Happy Thursday, my friend. From a state where it is legal both medically and recreationally.
Same here.
Yeah, same in Maryland. Yeah,
and a big fan of making that the case for a very long time. But I myself am a plant user, preferably. I found I get the most benefit from the combusting plant material. And the actual, not just the cannabinoids, but the endocannabinoids and the other terpenes that are able to be released that are usually lost when you distill into an edible or a concentrate format. It also makes it much easier to pace out throughout the day. And I'm not worried about popcorn lung from a vape.
Yeah. Sounds
So
good.
I go the other way. I do flour exclusively, but it's vaporized flour. So like it's basically superheated air that just runs through the negative space, essentially.
That's fair. I'm also in the process of becoming a former cigarette smoker. So I found that replacing one with the other.
With the other, yeah.
Helps. Yeah. I when I quit smoking years ago, I realized that was definitely like a way to cheat smoking, because I could smoke a joint it was really like a one hitter at the time, but it was sort of like a way to like smoke but not smoke.
Sure.
We have a guy, Chris, coming on the show who was a military field medic and is trained in like basically every tool ever invented for battlefield surgery and all kinds of crazy shit. But he is in cannabis processing now, and because of his highly technical background in the military, turns out he's really fucking smart at how to like manipulate the extraction processes from cannabis, and he's managed to come up with some really, really compelling compounds. And what I find interesting about his research and what he in his work is he's like, there's actually a lot more carcinogens in cannabis than there are in cigarettes, but because of the cannabinoid part of it, it actually combats the carcinogenic effects. And I was like, I need to talk to you about this for like an hour or so.
Yeah, that's such an interesting thing, because even in Chinese medicine, right, we talk about the different parts of the plants. And in a lot of cases, they talk about whole plant, right? And, it's theorized that it's the entourage effect, right? We're getting, just like we were talking about, but like, it's not just the THC, it's the cannabinoids. It's those other, things. It's the terpenes in there. But the same thing where it's like, oh, if you give this, it's toxic. But if you give the roots and the leaves, you're all right.
It's just fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. There's also, I have my local news station running in the background at all times. And I just need to highlight that the biggest new breaking story tonight is workers stung by bees in Paramus.
Paramus isn't that far from Manhattan. I mean, like not that far. Why?
There's got to be something more interesting happening.
I'm saying this entire country is a fucking dumpster fire. There's got to be something more terrifying than a bee. This is not good marketing. This is just lazy reporting.
That is the new headline story for tonight.
Dog pisses on fire hydrant.
That
is local reporting at its best.
We were talking about ghosts, right?
We were.
Yeah. So actually, I was just about to say I gotta ask the other part of this question, right? I was trying to tee it up with the whole God thing. Like what we don't understand, we explain as God, and then once we understand it, we take that off of the table. The God table sheds elements every year, right? Because
you go deep enough. And then all of a sudden you come back right out at the other side where you realize that at its most fundamental levels, quantum physics is nothing but contradictory statements of truth. And we know how to measure the effects of gravity, but we still have no idea what the fuck gravity actually is.
Right.
And
so, but again, doesn't that just sort of go with what I was saying? Like it basically, we have it on the God table right now, because we don't have a way to describe it.
So God is one term that has been used to describe this system that we may or may not be living in.
Fair point. I thank you for correcting me. I didn't really literally mean the Judeo-Christian God. I mean just like the
meant Scalar energy.
God.
Yeah. No, I mean like the God that's our word for the thing, and other people have different words for the thing. Like the thing is what I'm talking about, right? Like whatever that is.
Yeah. No, and there's no answer that anybody's going to get as to what the evidence is. But I mean, I was a sci-fi writer by training in college, and through the process of research for a book that I'm working on right now, I came across a really interesting study that was published in 2020, interestingly enough. So, a couple of other things happening in that time that would bump new academic studies out of the news cycle. But this was July 2020, and it was a scientifically acceptable mechanism for the reincarnation process of the self that alleges to actually capture imagery of what they refer to as the zinc spark of your soul DNA being imprinted upon a zygote.
Wow.
When does that happen?
Let's unpack that.
When does that happen? Because I think we got to be careful with that, because some anti-abortion people might.
I know. And this is like actually getting deep into the question of like, can science answer the question of when does life exist?
Well, and that's kind of a scary thing, because that's gonna make both sides more volatile.
Yeah, but play that out for a second, though, like just from a clarity of thinking standpoint. If you were to say your soul gets imprinted at a zygote level, which is like early on, right? Obviously. But you are also using this to describe quantifying the process of reincarnation, then whether you're aborted or not is materially irrelevant.
Because you're going to come back anyway.
Because you're just coming right back.
We're putting you back on the escalator.
Right.
And
like
that gets back to that thread from, I think it was like our shower thoughts that went viral years and years ago about the egg theory of the universe.
I don't know that one.
Oh, that theory.
I don't even think I'm in that subreddit.
Oh.
Yeah. What was that? Walk me into that one.
All right. The egg theory is that the universe in and of itself is the egg in which we are evolving into whatever the next level of consciousness is that allows us to experience the quote unquote higher dimensions. And the idea is that and it gets back to the concept that we are all one soul experiencing humanity simultaneously, everything everywhere all at once in many different ways. But the idea behind this concept is that like literally the spirit that resides within the physical form is all part of one infant God spirit that is in the process of learning and understanding how to become
the next thing,
the next
evolution. And so this is, I was you, and next time I will be you, that's kind of
right.
The idea. Like we are all constantly ourselves experiencing.
I actually had a conversation with somebody about soul families not too terribly long ago that we've called upon here several times. And it's a fascinating philosophical construct because we have families here and it's a conveniently human thing to do to want to describe, look, God had a son. That's a family thing, right? That's
all ancient Egyptian allegory recast.
I know, but I'm saying it's we tell these stories through paradigms we understand. Sure. We understand family because, many people have families.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Right. We understand family, right? And so you get it's easy to understand, but the thing I find interesting about a soul family is it kind of is this thing, like you were saying, like a version of what you're saying, Caitlin, where it's we're just trying to figure it out. And every go around, we kind of move up a level. Maybe we move down a level, I would have to say though, I think when I really want to dive down this rabbit hole, I have to go on the argument that each round is an up level, not a down, because if you are going through this cycle in the effort of up leveling, it would seem illogical that you would take steps backwards. You could start out really low and have to work your way up kind of thing. But I feel like it would be a little weird if we just
the thing that
go backwards.
To the risk of with that is basically the same kind of thinking that allowed monarchies to exist for so long, is that you were born.
They don't exist now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So sorry.
Todd is just
This
really
is
saucy
Fidel Castro behind me.
Fidel Castro.
I am a constituent of the Menendezes, if that means anything for New Jerseyans here. I understand what you're saying, but that's just to say, you know, the caste system that was enforced globally has started to become eradicated over recent decades and centuries. A lot of that was reinforced by the idea that if you were born into that experience, you were deserving of it. It was a level up, you know? And
Right.
so you do run the risk of hierarchical structures based off of birth when you believe that, well, I'm experiencing things good, so I must have done things right to step up in the past life.
That's actually one of the issues with Tibet, really. So even then, you know, Tibet had 80% of the land was owned by 12 families.
Yeah.
And it was theocratic, right? You had to do what the Buddhist temples said. So, you know, not that there's anything inherently wrong with Buddhism, but like the Dalai Lama had like 8,000 slaves as a kid, you know, before China, you know, we can say they liberated them or took it over. You know, it really depends on who you ask.
Yeah, but to bring it back to the egg theory, in the theory that everything is always happening all at once everywhere. You know, the story that went viral on Tumblr or Reddit or whatever it was like some years ago was basically that, you know, you most recently lived your life in the 21st century in the world that you know. But your last life was actually 500 years from now, and your next life is going to be 300 years ago. And so the idea is that time in and of itself is not the determination of your flow through the human experience. And
interesting.
So, you know, when you remove the factor of time, we are all just one soul experiencing itself through many facets.
Hey, Matt, remember in the back of Joe's Tesla when the guy that told you about soul groups went on about time and the fourth dimension? Yeah, this is what we're talking about. If we're 100%. In the fourth dimension, time is no longer linear and everything is literally happening. It's very Robert Livingston Seagull. You know, you get to that next level and things appear differently.
You know what my favorite thing is about time travel? We invented it the second we invented the written word and storytelling.
It was like the first thing we needed to describe.
No, but like the second you had information, you had a record of something that happened in the past. The second it was written down.
Yeah. Information in and of itself is immune to the fourth dimension. Isn't that cool?
It is a little wild. I never thought of it that way.
Or is it in the fourth dimension?
Or is it in the fourth dimension? Yeah, exactly.
And we simply retrieve it at the right moment. And
yeah, you know,
we get into the records theory and the and the ghost hunters that go into various elements with the mediums with them. And we bring it all the way back to the beginning of the episode here with the various ghost hunting teams, and whether you believe that it's a field that we're all pulling from or it's just bad wiring in an old
yeah, but the thing
well, what if the bad wiring sets the stage for that to happen, right? Because like I remember walking into my mentors, and I know we're kind of going all over the place, into my mentor's office at the school, and there is a case study on Chinese medicine and the treatment of poltergeist activity. And it was like an American household. The woman starts seeing shit fly around the house. Her husband's like, you're out of your mind. Nothing's happening. The kids start seeing it. And then next thing you know, dad's getting poked with shit. You know, so she goes to the Chinese herbalist, and he gives her like a we would say traditionally anchoring the spirit. He treats her for like, you know, a spirit disturbance within her. Slowly, husband stopped seeing stuff. Kids stopped seeing stuff. She stopped seeing stuff. And then he goes into like his own explanation why he thought it worked. And he goes, yeah, we found out through some, records that she had running groundwater under the house. And there's this theory that like that changes the electromagnetic field of the house. And it makes people that are more sensitive, susceptible to this.
And that also gets to like a lot of the concept behind poltergeist activity is that poltergeist activity is actually human driven. It is not a spirit. It is not a demon. It is not this other entity. 9 times out of 10, poltergeist activity is attributed to an individual in the home with excessive psychic powers, if you will. But it also usually frequently happens in homes with preteens and teenagers, or people who are going through extremely distressing life events.
I have preteens and teenagers in the house. If there's stuff being thrown around, it's normally me doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Well, they might not see you and
believe me, everyone knows it's me. I don't think demons would fuck with this house. They're like, that guy's nuts.
But Caitlin, so much of what you said, and I'm sorry, I'm like reeling. I have to unpack like 98 things that you said here. But like, what? Again, you keep leading me back to the same place that I keep going back to. That's where it's like, I'm going to explain something I don't know by attributing it to the fourth dimension, this higher power, the thing, God, whatever you want to call it. But almost every month now, I'm reading a new physics article that basically somebody went another layer down. And to your earlier point, it's a bunch of fucking nonsense at the quantum level. But I think where we're at now is we're finally starting to realize that because it's nonsense, we don't have to worry about the nonsense part. We just need to look to the next data point. I think people are like earnestly being able to explore these things now. Well, but like all it does is tell me we still don't know so much.
We know.
I was looking up the Fermi paradox and I got to a guy. Forget his name, but he had a theory that he did some calculation that said 92% of the planets that will ever exist haven't been born yet. And planet formation is on the hundreds of billions year scale. Like it's not like one of those things that it takes a long fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
And the last star in our solar system, they said, isn't going to burn out for like 100 trillion years. Right. Like, so
Minimal.
We have basically 100 trillion years of evolution left. And
not us specifically.
Not on.
No, not in these bodies.
No, but like my point is like in 100 trillion years, if we're finding new shit out about
how many species there are out there in the galaxy that are already 100 million years ahead of us.
Well, actually,
Jersey
one of the
Devil,
reasons,
Mothman,
the Jersey Devil, one of the theories
I'm just here for
about
callbacks, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
But there's that Drake equation, right, which plugs all these astronomical constants in and says this is how many.
The rapper is now an astrophysicist.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Terrence Howard wasn't enough.
Yeah. But like they're saying you need to like modify that because one of the other reasons they think we haven't found anything is because they're actually all extinct.
Well,
they were here. Like they're just not now.
Well, I don't think all of them would be extinct.
Actually, the theory now that's coming out about why it's a silent universe is because the truly advanced species have understood that it becomes more efficient to develop and explore an intersphere and interspace that is connected to other galactic interspaces, digital realms, if you will.
Yeah.
Because
so that's interesting. You're talking about like Lazar's stuff, right? Did you watch that documentary that he did? The last one he did. He does Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, right? And his whole thing is the travel that these species are doing isn't physical. Right. It is energetic. Right. So they're getting these basically virtual beings that they're interacting with.
My theory is that it's actually holographs, but you're able to convey a portion of your consciousness alongside the holograph. Anyways, now we're getting into like my high thoughts from Saturday nights. That
let's go.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, and honestly, one of the things about like our scalar energy guy that actually was really
he was a really nice guy. First of all, let me say that. Above all else, if he's crazy or if he's not, I'm still pulling for him. I hope he's 100%. Right. I hope
but
he's
he basically he brought up a good point. Quantum entanglement across any distance is instantaneous, which means there's no restriction,
no light speed you have to worry about. Yeah.
There's no light speed. There's no speed. Like speed isn't a thing. It's just instantaneous. And his whole thing was, once we learn how to harness scalar energy, we basically can harness it and use it, right? Like you can actually just do the same thing.
Something crazy? I found a whole bunch of unclassified documents from the U.S. government that were part of the Project Montauk disclosure.
I read those books. I didn't sleep for weeks.
I not only read them, but we went to the bunker in Montauk and like
that's filled with concrete or something, or
it's not there. It's filled with like typewriters that they never got rid of it. It's like I've been in there. There's a hole in the door.
Here's the thing.
We went in there. It was crazy.
Funding for Project Montauk and the actual project itself and the research underneath that project title continued long after the facility was shut down.
That has ties, speaking of time travel, to the Philadelphia experiment and all this kind of craziness. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got an undocumented or unclassified report from 1976 that basically says, yes, as soon as we tap into that field, not only do we have instantaneous teleportation to whatever location do we need to get to, but we also have access to a limitless energy field that would essentially nullify any of our need for energy sources.
The Rockefellers hate that shit. And the Rothschilds and anybody that has money that we don't talk about.
Yeah. Anyway, so like I said, I had a couple surgeries earlier this year. I had some family stuff come up. And so unfortunately, I had to take a little bit of a step back from work, but it gave me some fun time to go really deep into weird rabbit holes for my novel research. And I found some really, really fascinating things. I'll just say that much.
And that whole thing that if we don't have to follow that bouncing ball all too far to realize, like, if that is true, which I think there's a lot of evidence to support that it is, the only reason it's not out there is because it wouldn't make any money.
Matt, I don't want to meet the men in black. I don't want to meet the men in black. We don't have to keep going down this hole.
Yeah.
Because it's not Will Smith dancing with aliens. I'm telling you that.
Well, and
you just go away.
One of the other leading theories about why we are alone in the universe is because smarter beings realize that there's a lot of sage wisdom in shutting the fuck up and staying quiet and staying hidden. I think
they're like roll up the windows and lock the doors when they go by the planet. Honestly,
yeah, right.
They're either gonna fuck us or kill us, and we don't want either of that.
Yeah. No, we're good.
The first person to screw an alien is going to be like, I fuck that.
Yeah.
Which hole? We're not I'm sorry.
What did you do?
I'm in rare form.
The Area 51 run told me all I ever need to know about humans getting to interact with aliens. Do you remember that one?
Which one was this?
Back up.
The Alien 50 or the Area 51 Alien Fun Run in 2019.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Was this when everybody was going to run? Like they can't shoot us all. That was the tagline. Yes. Yeah,
they can't shoot us all. That happened.
I was rooting for him. I'm like, do it, guys, do it.
Did they actually do it?
No. The government's like, we will kill you.
Well, they didn't charge the base, but they did wind up having a big gathering and a rave outside of Area 51.
Sounds awesome.
Colby Boothman Shepherd happened to DJ that rave. I know this because I'm connected to him through an old job, and he was the guy from the Jurassic World movie who fell into the raptor pit and had to be rescued by Chris Pratt. Sorry, been talking a lot this week. Been a long week.
That's all right.
Stumbling.
That is funny. Now, you wonder, do you think the government would have pulled out the 50 cal and just mowed everybody down? I don't think
they just need to shoot one person. They just need to pop one head, and then everybody's like, fuck it, I'm out. That's it.
Yeah.
It just got
right?
I mean, look, worst case scenario, somebody might have gotten tased.
Yeah.
But hey,
I mean, at what rave isn't somebody getting tased? Is my
Yeah, I
question.
mean, I feel like that's sort of like that could happen at a regular rave.
I feel like there's whippets and all sorts of drugs. Why somebody's getting tased?
Yeah, the other thing that I start to think about too is Caitlin, and I have to stop myself here because we can keep going for an hour on that. But is a lot of hubris in just thinking that we are looking for other life forms. Like, what does life mean in a non-carbon based? I talked to one guy once.
Like? Yeah.
Well,
like he said, what if we sulfured? Like, what if we had a sulfur-based life form?
And what if there's no respiration? What if there's no what if there's no body heat generated? What are we looking for?
We don't know.
We haven't figured out how to communicate with a single other species on our planet yet.
I watched an elephant paint pictures today, and I was like, that guy's pretty smart.
But species on this planet, and we haven't figured out how to communicate with any of them effectively.
They do
Did
not
you
want
see
to talk
the
to
AI
us.
that just figured out the alphabet for the whales? Did you see this?
I did not see that.
Oh God.
Oh my God. So there's an AI that was trained. I'd have to look it up. Maybe the sperm or the humpback whales. One of the whales, like a one that we all knew, I knew it right away. They, an AI actually, they think they've broken it down into understanding it. So now what they're working on is actually reversing it and trying to actually communicate backwards. So it's funny that you brought that up because this is happening like right now. Like this is going on as we speak.
My theory, the aliens out there know about us. They've been monitoring us. Obviously, we're a whole bunch of apes who finally figured out telecommunications about 80 years ago and then went from there. And now when we finally understand how to not just communicate with another species that already exists on our planet, but see them as equal players and stakeholders in our ecosystem, then they will be like, okay, these mofos are ready to have a conversation with another.
Oh yeah, we're not ready for prime time yet. We're definitely not ready to talk to aliens.
Right. Until we get to that point, they're just going to keep hovering and blowing up our nukes from space, you know?
Yeah, please keep doing it.
Yeah, please. I mean,
don't give up on us.
That's actually an interesting
just
thought.
One more try, baby. Just one more chance.
Yeah.
Just one more chance.
That's an interesting thought, though. Like people are being like, "We'll get to you when you can actually
when you have something to say." Yeah.
When you've got something actually to say, have it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Let's say they figure this out. Yeah. If they lick this like alphabet for whales thing, and they could actually communicate and start a conversation.
They're going to fucking hate us.
Oh, that simple block. Yeah. They're going to be like, fuck.
They're going to be like, these guys are dicks.
Yeah.
You know how many of us you fucking ate and then killed?
Do you know why the orcas are attacking?
Oh my God. Yeah. The orcas.
They're commies. Because they're communist.
So we were in Iceland.
The 1%.
We were in Iceland and watched a whole video.
I'm getting very red tonight, man.
I know. Seriously. Yeah. Orcas have 2 languages. Did you know this? Like orcas speak orca, but they also have a local dialect for their pod. And so they actually can communicate with any orca that they come into contact with, but they have a secret language that only their pod knows.
So
and they are
automatically bilingual.
Yeah. So orcas are bilingual and each one of them has a very distinctive hunting pattern that is taught to offspring. And they've watched this sort of teaching of the progeny generation after generation after generation. And there is one pod, I think it was in Mexico, that deliberately beach themselves, right? Like, so that they could eat like 3 seals at a time. And then they don't have to come back as often, right? Like, so it's basically like a really...
We'll just wait for the tide to roll in.
And that's the thing. So what they do is they have a technique where they time it just right, but they have a technique and they're not panicking, which is what kills a lot of whales apparently, because they freak out. They don't know what to do. These whales do, because they did it on purpose, and they have video of the mothers teaching these babies how to intentionally fucking beach themselves. It's the most wild fucking thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And I'm like, and then I guess, were you making a comment to the orcas that are fucking tipping over boats right now for fun?
Oh yeah. They're in like outside off the coast of Spain or something, just fucking up yachts.
Yeah, it's and you know they're laughing about that. They're
a lot of great whites. Like, you heard about that? Like, surgically removing the livers from great white sharks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's getting like real high level with some of the
but all the DNC is eating them along with the brains of children. It's called Sharkgate.
Sharkgate, yeah.
Sharkgate.
God damn. I think Tom took too many Red Bulls today or something.
I don't know, man.
Sure
I was literally at work going, fuck, I got a podcast tonight. I'm so beat up from the gym yesterday. I'm falling over. It was like nuts at the office. And then I'm like, I'm not going to make it through. I had my off-brand Lidl Coke.
Okay.
My Lidl Cola, and I'm peppy as shit.
Yeah, you seem to be.
Appreciate it.
I think it's because you told me last week I didn't say enough.
Yeah. I think
I was kind of the whole time, Caitlin. I was like, did he just say that? I don't even. There was a logic train.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't.
This patient crashed. It departed this.
I was like, I don't even know where to start here. And then Matt just kept asking questions.
Well, because this guy brought some crazy shit to the table. Caitlin, he said that he could harness scalar energy into a Tesla coil, which creates a quantum field around the Tesla coil.
And he said there's no moving parts, but I think it plugs in.
You could take a photograph of yourself, which is your quantum signature, because it's just reflected light. And the universe's infinite wisdom or infinite energy or scalar energy.
Which is like scalar energy is really the energy of God.
Right. He's saying that it knows your quantum signature because it created your quantum signature. So it knows exactly where you are. So his thing is you could take a picture of a tumor or whatever, or, he had different diseases, different microbes and stuff on pictures. And if you said I had Epstein-Barr, he would put he'd put your photo and the Epstein-Barr photo next to the machine and you'd get treated. And he said he had documents of like cancer, thousands of cancer patients that have like gone into remission.
Goop would love this.
I mean, the fact that more people haven't like glommed onto this as a headline is actually a little startling to me.
Here's the thing. I genuinely, I want him to be right. I want him to be right so fucking bad. But could, like, I, as Matt was saying it, I felt myself making the face again. I don't even know how to attack this. Like, it is so, like, there's so much cognitive dissonance in my head. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, and I think, honestly, when it comes down to a lot of stuff, it gets hard to, like, rationalize. And I had a conversation today about sometimes
I literally texted you, this is our Terrence Howard. And then you went with it. You went with it. And I was like, thank God he asked, because I can't literally talk.
Yeah. And I actually, one of my favorite videos I've watched all year was Neil deGrasse Tyson's rebuke.
That was an amazing 17 minutes. That totally worth the
Terrence
time.
Howard. I don't know, Caitlin, if you've seen it, but if you have,
Terrence Howard was accusing him of attacking him and
on Joe Rogan.
him, and on Joe Rogan, he was like, well, I showed this to him and he's trying to discredit me and disprove me, but he doesn't think because of these great minds. And like, it was the rebuttal was so measured, so even, awesome. So well thought out. And at the same time, he didn't attack. He was super caring. For a scientist.
Well, he was caring because he said, he was basically like, you're attacking me and I just need you to understand. I think you've misread this. Like, I wasn't attacking you at all. I was actually.
This is called peer review. Yeah.
This is called peer review, which is the highest order of compliment that a scientist can give another scientist.
I read your 36 pages of lunacy is basically what he was saying. He's like, look, your second sentence makes everything after it invalid.
Like,
thing. Creative writing feedback. That is the best feedback you can get from somebody, is a critique. Because that means they read it and they read it closely enough to
actually have thoughts. Yeah.
But like have thoughts about it and feedback on it. You know,
Tom just. Oh yeah, Tom just gave the spoiler alert on that. So I'll say though, the funniest part of that 18 minutes was when Neil goes, and just to start off, I have a lot of notes in the margins, but I'll just give you my first one, which says, "This sentence is wrong." If the rest of this paper, if the following 36 pages are predicated on this, then nothing from here on can be trusted. It was literally the second sentence. And I was like, I damn near fell off my chair because I was like, now, meanwhile, conversely, let me paint a quick picture. Terrence Howard is on the Joe Rogan show, which obviously you're only on that show for marketing.
You're a sideshow at that point. Yeah. You're entertainment. Yeah.
He's got this like thin hoodie pulled like sus around his face and the headphones meticulously placed on top. He was clearly like fashionly oriented, like he was, and trying to have like a serious conversation. I was slighted by one of the world's greatest physics mind. Like, so, but it was like, there was nothing but juxtaposition in everything this guy was doing. Like his outward and his inward were not matching at all. Like it was just fun. And then to watch Neil tear him down, it might have been.
But Neil, like I said, he was so scientific in the approach that like, yeah, it stings, but it is like unemotional. It's like completely aseptic. There's nothing coming with it other than, well, this is not logical.
Right. Therefore,
but like, then he's like, yeah, they didn't agree with Tesla. And he's like, Tesla has a unit of measurement named after him. Like that was like, they're like, right. No, we think he's great. Not everything he said was genius. He said some off the chain shit, but like most of the stuff we use is great.
And then funny enough, fast forward 2 episodes to our Scalar energy guy who has a lot of research predicated on that side of Tesla's research. That's not on the side that got him a unit of measurement named after him, but the other stuff. Like,
yeah, they got it.
It was funny because he puts up a cutting board and he's like, yeah, see, you can't, the light will still go through the cutting board. And I'm like, but that's a Tesla coil. It generates an EMF field. And he's like, no, this won't give any EMF energy. And I'm like, dude, I will send you my $20 EMF reader. Let's do that on air.
Let's put this thing to the test. Yeah. Let's cover this fucker.
And I don't remember what he said because I did ask one question. How do you get the scalar energy in the vacuum tube? How do you get it in there in the first place?
It's emitting
pulling it from the universe.
That's correct. All the time. Like neutrinos. We're getting hit by them every second.
But what's keeping them in the tube? The vacuum?
Yeah, who knows? We didn't get into the mechanicals.
I mean, how effectively sealed is that vacuum?
I don't. It's not a perfect vacuum.
Yeah,
it can't be a perfect vacuum. That doesn't exist on this planet.
Sure.
So I feel like I now want to have a conversation after I'm like over the shock of the initial.
I'd like to chat with him. I just say if
you want to come back, we'll do a roundtable.
Yeah, he is actually. I think out of all of our guests, we have actually had really good luck. Tom and I have had.
It was a great episode. I was just sitting there going like, I don't know.
I don't know what the odds in the podcast world are before you have to have a shitty guest that just sucks ass. He
didn't suck ass.
No.
It was entertaining, if nothing else.
We're like pressing 100 episodes, and we haven't hit that person yet. But he is.
There's been some people that I haven't passed on to you, Matt, on that one website we use. I'm like, you understand we're a health show and you want to talk about real estate investment?
We didn't talk to those people though.
I'm not even responding to you, bro.
But this is what my point was.
Aim your pitches.
This is one of those only guys that would come back on every other week if we wanted him to. Like he is definitely a guy that wants.
I would totally ask him every other week.
Spread the word about scalar energy.
Let's talk to him about ghosts.
Yeah, and yes, I want to talk to him about ghosts.
Can you make ghosts? Can we make ghosts with that machine?
theoretically,
Yeah, because if
you could elicit the energy if the
That's what I'm saying.
and it's
that's exactly
Can
right.
he make us one? What's the buy-in?
well, actually, technically, according to this theory, not only could they create a ghost in the sense that if you were photographing your universal thumbprint in a way that can be stored, it could be replicated through a holographic replication. But then it could even theoretically just be uploaded or reproduced, and technically a solution for immortality of the car.
We've actually done several shows on the upload series on Netflix. Is it Netflix or is that? And talked about uploading consciousness.
That show is so good.
It's so good.
So good. So fucking good.
And it knocks right on the door of like right around the corner. Like you died in a car crash was the big joke.
Sure.
And it's like, why? They're all self-driving. Nothing ever crashes. And you're like, oh shit, we're actually working on that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if you notice, it was like at the end of the hallway in the emergency room, it says surgery or upload. Like it's there's a sign on the hallway. Mm-hmm. And so like it changes the dynamics of death, which, not to get too kind of weird, but for the callback on this show,
what happens to ghosts?
If you are meant to proceed in a reincarnation path and you upload, have you now bucked the system? Have you now fucked with...
That also then begs the question, is the upload the original or is it just a copy?
A copy of a copy, yeah.
Yeah. Well, going back to that manifesting reality to that entity, then obviously reality is contiguous. But the question is if they can take a photograph of a soul imprinting on a zygote, could the converse also be true? Could we actually watch it detach from a corporeal representation?
What was that? What was that show? 76 grams or something? What was that movie?
There was a study that did show that at the moment of death, there is a slight decrease in weight.
It was a weird Russian study, though. I think there was something faulty with it. But I remember
there was a book that I read about this, though. That was
something. It was called something grams, and they turned it into like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, I'm sure.
86 grams or something. 70.
There was a study that was conducted. If I'm God, I read this book about this in 2012. So rough recollection, but there was a study that was run in the 20s, 30s at typhoid wards where they basically knew patients were near end of life, and they put them on a scale and measured, took live measurements of their weight and recorded the weight at the time of death and then within the 30-second time afterwards, and there was a change.
So you know what the crazy thing is? Immediately my head goes to Egyptian mythology, and like, does that weigh the same amount as a feather?
Right.
That's a bizarre query, because if it weighs the same amount as a feather, you go on to the afterlife.
Wait, is it?
But you know what?
2 grams?
I feel like this is something we could all Google.
Is the
millennial didn't decide to do that?
Is the answer to life, the universe, and everything?
42 is what's 6 times 7?
42. Yep.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. But I mean, to your point about earlier histories too, though, like it is a little weird that we've had such a long history of describing things like Egyptian mythology, right? We've got tons of record of that now we're like, science is kind of like not verifying, but sort of like alluding to, and as we go closer, you're like, have we just known this since day one and we just haven't had the vocabulary to describe it? Or you know what I mean?
I gave a lecture to the Department of Defense, the Walter Reed system, on like exactly this. And I was like, look, we got these 2 particles in a quantum field, and it makes a yin yang, the Tai Chi symbol. It makes that symbol. Right. How the fuck did a bunch of monks like 5,000 years ago sitting in a cave know this shit?
Right.
Like, how fucking mind blowing is that? And then it gets back to is everything happening all at once, and some of us can tap into it?
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
And that also gets into the other theory of ghosts, to bring it all the way back, which is that they're actually, when you see a ghost or you experience,
Deja vu or something, or
it's simply the fourth dimension thinning for a second. And you're getting an echo of something that either did happen previously or is going to happen in the future.
It's so interesting because like they talk about this theory of like the universe like being rippled, right? So at some point it actually like those sides can actually touch, and then we have these weird glitches at this giant level there.
Yeah. As some would say, the places where the veil is thin.
Yeah. You know, and a lot of this and a lot of that weird esoteric stuff kind of starts to sound like this. And look, I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner.
Right.
Everything they did, they tried to disprove it, and then they're like, no shit, they're actually saying something that's true. Like we can study the effect, but we still don't understand this concept of chi.
I think we're at a very interesting point where colonialism has finally divested enough from scientific research.
I like her, Matt. I like her so much. I really like. I would. We could hang out at a TGI Fridays on the Nile and have an in-depth conversation about just about all this shit and find some weird universal theory to tie it all together. I mean, look, man, I'm leaning into it. Other people are like, "You want to medicate that? Fuck no." Get out of my way.
I do want to medicate it, but I don't want to medicate it with the shit they want me to medicate.
No, absolutely.
You know, like I'm like, do the hard pass.
Yeah, Sturgill
Caitlin,
Simpson songs.
listen, man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if we don't cut this shit off, we're going to be here till sunrise. And
I don't think anybody listens to it after the first 80 minutes.
Yeah. But man, I actually love Tom's idea. I think we should maybe try this again with Scalar Energy Guy, because I think someone with your sort of mindset would love.
We got to send him photos first, and
I have it. Do it. He gave us he said, "Listen, as a thank you, send me pictures of your dogs, your family, your parents."
He's like, your parents if they're still around, your kids, animals, everything.
He goes, "And I will treat you guys for a year."
Super nice dude.
Ooh, what's the online subscription model, and how's his venture capital raise going?
So I don't know.
I don't think he's got much venture capital.
No, he gives 15 away for free, and he said most of the time you don't need more than that. So I'm like, well, how do you fund this? He goes, I'm barely getting by. I'm like, that makes sense.
He was super honest.
Okay.
He's in a Jimmy Buffett cover band. It pays all right.
And once again,
right.
I'm now taking shots at the dude, and he's a fucking awesome guy.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm always here to evaluate from a slightly skeptical point of view, because that is
I love it.
How I go.
I think we should set that up, man. I
definitely do think there's some good idea there.
I think that would be an amazing conversation. I once again will probably go back to being quiet though. Just because I'll be like, I don't even know what's going on, man. This is crazy.
You know, from a data perspective, he really is sipping from a fire hose. Like he is pushing information out at a massive speed, and you're kind of like, okay, I gotta think about this.
Wait, let me put a pin in that one, and I gotta try and catch this statement. And hold on, there was something there I had to ask him, and no. And it was just like I just watched it all go right by me.
I'm sorry. There's more breaking news. The Wienermobile has rolled over on an Illinois interstate.
Wait, the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile? Oh, that's a national tragedy right there.
I mean, there's probably about 100 of those, I would imagine, rolling around now.
You know how much this must cost? There might be just one.
There is one.
Yeah.
There's one.
There's one.
Oh, that body shop. I don't even know the body shop that could fit that thing in it.
Yeah.
That's got to go to some bus terminal or something.
Or like, how do you even approach that? Hey, so I've got an interesting thing. The top bun is a little bit dented, and the wiener definitely is all fucked up. Is this a prank call?
We lost some
what
mustard.
The fuck are you talking about? Oh my god.
Oh my god. I'm more upset about that than this election.
Oh my god. Oh Jesus.
This is
Caitlin.
Freedom, God damn it. I'm fucking weird tonight. God. Is there a full moon?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Jesus Christ.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days ago. If you want to hang out after, I can give you a tarot card reading to close it all.
Oh, okay. I will definitely. I might actually take you up on that.
Oh my god. All right. Well, listen, Caitlin, I'm looking forward to you coming back. Thank you so much for sharing a really fun evening. I appreciate your time.
This is such a fun time, man.
That was a great episode. I loved
we were
having
everywhere
you.
too.
Yeah, and it's funny when we have to go name this episode, we're just going to probably put your name because I don't even know where to call
honestly,
it a ghost hunting episode would be really disingenuous.
The AI chat summary is going to have a real like what the fuck did they just say?
Yeah. The AI chat summary is going to be like, "Hey, fuck yourself. I'm not decoding this nonsense."
I don't even know. It was in English, but I don't know.
We can definitively say there was maybe 3 people on the call. We're not sure. There was a lot.
We heard 3 separate voices. They said ghosts a couple of times.
Yeah. But there was a quantum field entanglement, so it could have been 8 different people at 16 different times. We don't know. Like
we think there was ghosts in the room.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So listen, man, thank you so much. You guys enjoy your night. Caitlin, let's do this again, man.
That was so great.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good one. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. Later.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.